Welcome to the 1905 podcast. Joe and I have been going to Stamford Bridge for over 30 years. Each week, this podcast will take you inside our unfiltered thoughts on all things Chelsea, sharing our view from Gate 13 of the Matthew Harding stand. Let's hit the notes. In this episode, we reflect on opening day defeat to Man City and look at the positives amongst the pain. And we look forward to the return of European football at the Bridge against the mighty Servette from Switzerland. Let's start with our live reactions to the City game with me at the Bridge and Joe watching on from the Kent seaside. Oh, here we go. Literally just walked out of Fulham Broadway station, walking to Stamford Bridge, and yeah, we've got about 10 minutes until the teams are announced, and I can't wait. It's like one of my favourite days of the year. I think it's the smell, that sweet smell, a mixture between onions from the burger van mixed with that horse manure smell that you only get when you're at a football ground, and it means we're back.
Just in the team news, mate. And yeah, what a strong team that is. I'm really pleased, actually. I thought we might get a couple of surprises, a bit like Poch was last year with Colwell playing left back or left wing back or whatever he was doing, but this seems like the right selection to me. Bit surprised Sterling's missing out. Maybe not in the first 11, but certainly not even on the bench is a bit of a strange one. But yeah, I can see this being a very good, strong, competitive game for us today. And hopefully, we can pull through some kind of result. So yeah, really looking forward to it. And yes, you can't beat the smell of onions and horse shit on a Sunday afternoon. That's something every football fan should experience at least once.
I was saying to you all week, wasn't I, that I thought he would play all three of those guys today, Lavia, Enzo and Caicedo. And yeah, Sterling's massive. I think for me it shows that they want him out, don't they, to make room for João Félix. Whoever he left out, to be fair, of Sterling, Madueke, Mudryk and Pedro Neto off the bench was going to cause headlines. He couldn't put all four of them on there. And yeah, let's see what happens with Sterling. I've got a feeling it's going to be the new Lukaku loan situation.
I mean, to be honest, from Sterling's point of view, the fact that he's come in and done a full pre-season, played well, put his head down, got on with it, you know, he's got a right to be a bit aggrieved, if I'm honest, but it's what of football, isn't it? Like we said the other day with Gallagher and whatever, one day your pace fits, the next day it doesn't. So, yeah, with Felix coming, maybe that's a reason why, but yeah, it's still a bit disappointing for him, but he's never quite endeared himself to us 100%, has he? So, yeah, the new Lukaku loan, like you said, might be the way we're going.
Yeah, Cucurella living up to the shithousery reputation early on. Doing a good job on Zucker so far.
I absolutely fucking love that guy. He's so funny to watch.
Bernardo Silva and Erling Haaland blasts his way through and rips into another new campaign.
It's so easy, isn't it? It's just too strong for them, isn't it, Haaland? That is so frustrating. Exactly what I said in the week. Don't want to concede early, and we did.
I'm sorry, both centre-backs. Fofana's not marking Silva. Colwell's not marking Haaland. Fucking mess in the middle. This VAR check is so tight, man. We're never going to get these, do we?
Fans are booing. Players aren't happy. Goal.
To be fair, Chelsea have been much better since the goal, but that's when City are their most dangerous, so we've got to be careful of that. But as it stands, yeah, we're 1-0 down, but much better on the ball. We're finding space a lot more. Palmer's got a bit more advantage, which is good. And Kunku's been a pest on this left-hand side, but at the moment can't find the breakthrough, so yeah, just plodding away at the moment.
VAR offside thing is an absolute joke. An absolute joke. It's pointless. It's the worst thing about VAR, apart from the goal celebrations. Joke.
Oh, mate, Chelsea look so superior at the moment. City are always a threat on the break, but we look much more clinical. Our pass has been good, we're breaking through the lines. Jackson's hold-up play just then from Nkunku went through. Absolutely fantastic. I've given him a little bit of stick today because his job is to score goals. That's my eyes. And even though he's not an out-and-out number 9, you're playing in that role. And his hold-up play again, he's outside the box, brilliant, holds off defenders, midfield players, and springs us into our attacks. And that's where I think he's most dangerous. And that's where I like Van Osserman or someone comes into their own there. He deflects that forward and smashes it. And Nkunku didn't quite believe in himself for that chance. But look, we've looked excellent, I think, in this half. And I think we can't really be too harsh on them. I've been really impressed with how we played. So we've got to be prepared for a City kind of telling off a hard song from Pep. They sort of let themselves go a little bit, but they're always a threat, as we know. And at the moment, Chelsea, I would say, are on the ascendancy. So our time was just gone, but not pleased to be losing. But I think we are certainly well in this game, and hopefully the game sets up for Pedro Neto to get the equaliser or maybe even the winner. Who knows? So let's see.
We've actually done it right at times on the ball, just not quite creating enough far away around their box. Feels like they're quite happy to let us have the ball a lot of the time. But you feel like there are chances there, so up and a bit more of a go. They are there for the taking, I think, at least to get something out of the game.
And there's Sanchez, one cock up a game, at least. I mean, literally passing it straight out to De Bruyne on the edge of our box. The path to Palmer's never on, and you know, it puts us in such a dangerous position. Luckily, De Bruyne messed up the cross, but you don't give City chances like that, because that's just suicide.
What a first touch that would have been for Neto. Fucking hell. I wouldn't have taken Nkunku off personally, I'd have taken Fernandes off, but okay, let's hope it works out.
Wow. Neto's been on about 30 seconds. Ball ran the back from Enzo, and literally he's half a yard from making it 1-1. Great tackle from the young fullback there. Who was that? Lewis, Rico Lewis, yeah, great tackle. Chelsea corner. Oh, wow. Have Chelsea not equalised? Neto down the left-hand side, fantastic cross. Enzo header, off target, comes back in from Gusto. Bit of a melee in the box, he gets put back into Jackson, he's back to goal. But all he's got to do is hit it anywhere but the middle of the goal, and it's a goal. Editor makes a save. Oh, it's so frustrating. So frustrating.
Kovacic driving. Kovacic! City are winning again from the outset.
It's played well, Kovacic, to be fair. Weak hand by Sanchez. Soft goal.
Honestly, of all the players to score, I mean, this guy had about 4 shots in 6 years for us, and he just fucking flipped the 2-0 ahead. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Olays from the City fans aren't much fun to enjoy in the ground, to be honest, but I think there's been a lot of good individual performances. Just really frustrating. Hate playing City. All right, walking out of Stamford Bridge now. We didn't play that bad, did we? We didn't play that bad. We didn't play that well. City do that to you. I think marginal calls on both of the goals in the first half. You're probably right, but things like that, as we know, goals change games. Like I said in the week, in the build-up, that we could really do without conceding an early goal. We didn't. We did concede an early goal, and that really hurt us, I think, because you just felt it in the momentum. The crowd was, when we had a little spell in the second half where you thought we might get a goal, we could have done. The crowd was pretty good. And overall, I thought we played actually pretty well. I thought Fofana he's the one in pre-season I've been worried about. I thought he looked really good, actually. He looked strong, like the player that we got from Leicester, and I wasn't sure if we'd see that player again. And I was really encouraged by that today. Attacking wise, I don't want to pick on him because he's a bit of an easy target sometimes, but Enzo Fernandez, I think in that more attacking role, I just don't think it suits him. Much rather have seen Nkunku stay on the pitch and Enzo Fernandez come off and then get Nkunku more into that central role. But, you know, I think we'll see that at some point in the season. I think he's still working out the balance of that team. And yeah, we'll talk more as we go, but queuing up on the train now. And I would say the mood is probably what you kind of expect, which is no one is surprised, really. Everyone was just like, yeah, you're playing City first day, and it's always difficult. and everyone's just feeling a bit like, yeah, that was kind of what we kind of came here expecting. We hoped for different, but there we go. We go on.
So yes, the game was finished. Chelsea 0, Man City 2. I'm bitterly disappointed. I thought we played pretty well today, actually. I felt as though we went toe-to-toe with them. I was pleased that we kind of kept going and we didn't throw the towel in. I think there's been times when we played City where we have kind of done that and you feel as though we've given up. I think when City scored their second goal to make it 2-0, the team did feel as though it was a little bit over, which is sort of fair enough, I suppose. But I'm pleased with the character of the side. I think it's easy to kind of get carried away and say that we were battered by City or, you know, played off the park. It simply wasn't the case. Did they create some chances? Yes, I think we went at them, which kind of allowed them to come at us. But I also felt that when they came forward, we went forward as well. And we had plenty of chances to score. None more so than when Jackson was half a yard offside to make it 1-1 in the first half. So there was obviously other chances, and I won't go into those now. But I think just my general feelings on the game was that if that goes in at 1-1, it is a completely different game in the second half. And I suppose some Chelsea fans will be pleased if we didn't lose 4 or 5-0. There'll be some fans that we disappointed we didn't win 4 or 5-0. So I think I sit somewhere in between. I think I'm realistic and kind of go, well, if we got a result today, it would have been a good point. But having said that, I think there were causes for optimism. I don't think I'm too concerned about the centre-backs. I think they look fairly decent. I think they were maybe a little bit caught out for the first goal. But overall, as a partnership, they played pretty well. And partnerships need to build. Fofana and Cole haven't played together probably, maybe ever. I haven't looked back at the stats, but they might not have even played together, you know, other than pre-season this year. So these things need time to develop. And I think Cucurella was a plus point. I thought he was getting a little bit overrun in the first half. The last sort of maybe 10 to 15 minutes of the first half, Savinho looked very, very good. But I think when Foden come on, it calmed down a little bit and Cucurella played pretty well. Hopefully his injury isn't too bad. But I think there was plus points all over the field. I think Jackson played well, even though he should have scored a legit goal. I thought Nkunku played well when fits and starts. Palmer was a little bit out of the game to start with, but he came into it and made himself kind of back into the player that we all know and love. You know, creating his chances, getting those direct, dangerous little balls into the box, which we didn't do anything with, I must say, but he kind of was doing it. I was really pleased with Lather and Caicedo. I thought they played very, very well. I think Enzo was very hit and miss. I feel as though he was, much like you said, Sheen, he was very slow in our build-up and he sometimes slowed us down, but he also could have been neater and tidier on the ball. There was way too many chances that he gave away in the first half from just sloppy passes, and that's something that he has to address. And we can't keep going through the season where you've got Sanchez doing, you know, sloppy passes, Enzo doing sloppy passes. We can't keep doing that. The best teams don't do that. You have to kind of clean that stuff up, and I think it's something that we do need to address. But he did build into the game. He did create some chances a bit later on, and he was getting back and making tackles, and he was in the game. He is a bit of a leader. I think he is quite interesting in that captain's role. It's something that we need to kind of give him a bit of time to develop into. But I think just overall, the game was okay. I think we did fine. I mean, it's not what we want to hear. We want to come away with a Chelsea victory and everyone be really happy and stuff, of course. But, you know, we are playing the best team probably in the land, if not the world. It's never that easy. And some will point to the fact that Rodri didn't play or whatever. But they'll be chuffed. Man City will be chuffed. You know, on the face of it, they'll be, you know, they're giving all lays and all that sort of stuff at the end of the game there. But you just know for a fact that they will be pleased as punch to come away from Chelsea with a victory. But I feel as though we are on the cusp of something. And there will be growing pains. No great team in football has ever gone from kind of nothing to everything in one game. You know, it does take a little bit of time to understand what's going on with Chelsea, and even Man City themselves. It took them years and years and years to get where they are now. It didn't happen overnight. They had plenty of seasons when they were dreadful. And I know it's hard for Chelsea fans to understand, but you have to be realistic. We have been spoilt rotten. There's been some fantastic signings, some fantastic football and managers over the years that have come in and done instantly well. But it's not always the case, and it takes teams a long time to develop into this winning machine. So, look, I'm like all of you. I feel pissed off and hacked off that we haven't won. I hate seeing Man City celebrate. I hate even more when Chelsea fans argue amongst themselves and feel as though it's kind of all one person's fault or whatever. But I think I'm certainly happy with what I saw in terms of performance. I think those things will eventually turn into goals and turn into results for us. So please don't be too downhearted. It takes all of us to realise this dream of eventually getting back to the top of the table. But for the short term, to coin a phrase from Antonio Conte, he used to say, the team needs to suffer. Well, at the moment, the team and the fans need to suffer to get what we want. And that's for Chelsea to be competing for the top honours once again. And Todd Bowley and Igbali haven't come in here for Chelsea to finish in the top 6 or 7 positions year in, year out. So eventually the tide will turn. And I just want to be there when it happens. So I'm always optimistic.
Hey, it's Chris here with a really quick message. Check us out on Instagram at 1905 Podcast. You'll find video clips, photos, and much more about everything we discuss on the show. Plus, it's a great way to get in touch to tell us your thoughts, share your feedback, or just say hi. Follow us on Instagram at 1905 Podcast. And now, back to the show.
So yes, I'm just sitting here on the beach actually. It's soothing for the soul when you lose a game of football, but yeah, that's okay. I'm just sort of reflecting on the game from yesterday. And I think personally for me, I'm not too disheartened from it. I think that overall, I think each and every player actually played pretty well. I didn't think there was any criticism of anyone massively. Yes, we should have scored the Jackson finish. Maybe we could have had 1 or 2 chances where we weren't as clinical as we should have been. But I think overall, the team performed pretty well. I think because I've kind of set my mind that Chelsea were going to be a short passing team out from the back through into midfield, it never really bothered me too much when we were playing out from the back. It kind of, I'd sensed that from pre-season and all that we heard from Enzo Maresca. So again, I wasn't surprised by it. I also think that when we did try and go long, it was there. It was plain to see. I mentioned it in a voice note that you could tell that Sanchez was looking to play Nkunku over the top. When the chance was on to kind of spring a surprise of Man City, which didn't come off on the day, but it's something to look forward to or look more at as the season goes on. I appreciate that obviously we've lost the game, and no one ever wants to lose a game of football, particularly against one of your biggest rivals. But if we were to go to the Etihad and win, we would have gained a point on last season, so all is not lost. I think people have to remember we drew this game at home last year, and effectively we've lost 1 point on this season so far. So that's why I look at these things. It's like, let's not get too downhearted, because like I said just then, I think the team played overall pretty well, and Man City are a strong, one of the strongest opponents you're ever going to come across all season long. So to get too kind of stroppy and down on the team after one result is going to be a bit silly. But I can also understand the frustration of seeing that sky blue team walk off Stamford Bridge with the points again. It is really, really annoying, and no one wants to see Pep's face smiling and happy and giving us all the credit that we deserve when we lost the game. I like seeing Pep when he's wound up, when you're beating him and he doesn't quite know what to say and he gets a little bit agitated by you. That's what I want to see. But I think the idea that we can all play our part and actually support the team is actually the way to go. I don't think this kind of constant battering of the manager and the constant battering of the players does anyone any favours. The players feel it in the ground. When the team is getting criticised, you can feel them kind of tense up and not play their best football. And I think when they were left to their own devices last year, with players like Cole Palmer, who was just free and loose to play the football that he wanted to play, then that kind of translates into goals, assists, and generally good performances. I'm certainly not going to push the panic button. There's a long old season to go, and
personally, I think I can get on board with this manager. I think he's someone I can relate to. I'm hoping that after our first goals and hopefully a good win, maybe against Wolves on Sunday, we might see him go to the crowd and give the fans that lift that we all kind of want at the moment. I think there's a little bit of a dark cloud around Chelsea. Hopefully we get some of this transfer business done, because I think there's a lot going on with Conor Gallagher and Trevor Chalobah and Lukaku, to name just some. There's also players obviously that we want to bring in, and I think our desire to get a number 9 couldn't have been more clear yesterday in those tight games, those marginal areas of the field where you just feel as though we just need to tap one in from 5-10 yards. We are that striker away from kind of, I think, going on to the next level. So it'll be good to lose some of our bloated squad. I think that will help around the training areas, and also believe that bringing in the right type of players to help you win games will also only bring confidence and an assured kind of feeling around the likes of Cole Palmer and Nkunku. If you've got players creating chances but nobody finishing them off, it can get a bit disheartening. And I think that if we can get maybe a John Duran or an Osimhen over the line in the next week or two, I think that will be a really, really big bonus for the club. So I think that's something to work on. Get our transfer business in order, lose some more players, get the ones in that you actually want, and try and clear up some of this thing with Raheem Sterling, because he's obviously had a moan at the club for not playing yesterday or not being included. Rightly or wrongly, I don't think he should have put a statement out an hour before the game. I think that's completely wrong. And it certainly doesn't help the dressing room when you've got players kind of moaning that they're not either getting in the starting 11 or the matchday squad. With an army of players to choose from, it's actually more hard work for Maresca than you'd probably imagine. So, I think it's an area we need to clear up before we get to Wolves next week, if possible. At least have the vast majority of the players in or out by that time would be great. So, onwards to Servette and then Wolves.
Hello mate, just landed in New York and in the dreaded queue at the airport for going through customs, passport control, which is always hell, let's be honest, when you land in the US. But I had a lot of time obviously to reflect on the game yesterday as well. Actually caught up. I was using Wi-Fi on the plane for the first time in my life, and that was actually surprisingly good. So even got to watch the highlights on YouTube, watched all that back, and generally saw what was going on social media and stuff to get a general feeling. And I think actually, probably similar to you, having reflected on the game for overnight and some of today, I kind of feel similar to you actually. And I don't think I've got a huge amount more to add than what you said, but I think the key thing for me, which is what everyone is saying, and it's both ends of the pitch are the problem, aren't they? I think the goalkeeper situation, as Owen rightly said, Sanchez doesn't fill you with any confidence at all. And I just really, really hope that Jorgensen turns out to be the answer to that. I mean, I think we're all a little bit in the unknown on him at this stage. Just really hope he does, because it is a massive, makes such a difference when you have someone in goal that you can trust. You see it with City, they give the ball back to Ederson. Everyone's comfortable. Chelsea players can't even really close him down because they know how good he is on the ball. And when it comes to make, one real key moment of the game, obviously Jackson's hits the ball straight at him, but it wasn't a surprise that Ederson saved it. He's that good. And that, those are the moments that win you games and eventually win you titles. And then at the other end of the pitch, Jackson, who I really like Jackson. I think he could turn into a really, really good player for us, but he needs support up there and another number 9 that we can rely on to really be in and around the penalty box. Somebody who just wants to be in the box and wants to be basically a goal pig and just make sure someone there to smash goals. Diego Costa back in the day, Drogba, we've had them. We know how important they are when you have them, and I really hope that that's the focus now, and I think it will be. I think Osimhen is the big name being linked. Love him. I'd love to see what he could do at Chelsea. Duran, obviously, those links seem to have cooled down a little bit, but someone like him, again, you saw a brilliant finish at West Ham at the weekend. That's what Chelsea need. I think you kind of felt to us as soon as those changes were made. I think Jackson's legs had gone the last 20 minutes, and Mark Gui came on. you just, but actually we lost a little bit of that impetus. It just looked less likely we'd scored, didn't it? And yeah, there's no, football isn't always rocket science. It's about stopping the opposition from scoring and making sure you take your chances. And if you look at the stats again yesterday, it was a little bit of a throwback, wasn't it? We had more XG than City, similar number of chances really, similar amount of the game, but at the key moments we didn't take our chances, they took theirs, and that's the difference in big games like that. So yeah, onwards and upwards, and we've got actually a really decent run of games ahead of us on paper to put a little run together and set it all along with Maresca. I think it's really important for him and actually for the owners, I think, that we get a little run of wins together, because the tide can change so quickly when you do that. We saw it at the end of last season. The whole mood about Pochettino changed so quickly, and really that was because of that little run we had at the end of the season. The whole mood changed, and I think that's exactly what we need now from Maresca and what the owners need. Put a little run together, 4 or 5 wins, and everyone's happy again. So that's what Joe and I thought of the game, but let's get another perspective. Let's hand over to Chelsea fan and journalist Owen Phillips for his view.
Yeah, I thought we had a decent enough start. We were brave and pretty confident, looked better than we did pre-season, trying to play out from the back. We were pretty dangerous and lively going forward. And I did also like the fact there wasn't this complete reliance on Cole Palmer in the first half. We got him in the game quite a lot, and increasingly so, because he's the go-to man, isn't he? But sometimes last season, if he didn't do it, no one was going to do it. So that was quite important. I thought that we showed that. And just didn't rely on him. There's a few sort of nervy moments, and obviously it's the biggest one is Sanchez. He's just not a top 10 keeper, is he? He's not a keeper that any other team chasing the aspirations of winning the league or finishing high up would look to use. With that, I mean, it's just not. It's just got to be ruthless and get rid of him. He's just too sloppy with the ball. Give away a really bad pass first half, and then I'm not convinced he's great as a keeper either. Probably should have saved the second one. So yeah, there's always these concerns. Defensively, aside from him, I thought Fofana was a massive plus. He was excellent, really good on the ball, played on the front foot. He really needs a big season, and the sort of player who settles a team like him is just absolutely critical. He helps others play as well. I've always thought that you need a player that inspires others, that leads. I think there's a real promise there for him. Cucurella was ratty and annoying. He's exactly the player I thought we were when we signed him. I saw him quite a lot for Brighton. He always impressed me, and he obviously buoyed by what's gone on, a bit more confidence and playing in the right system. I think he could be excellent. Aside from that, Lavia, you look at the midfield, he was excellent. So solid, so composed, so calm, can play a pass, can spy a pass. We just need more of that. I'm just not quite sure the midfield balance is right. I can see why he did it in this game, but I just think Enzo's lost playing too far forward. He charges around, but without a lot of conviction. Poor touch in the box a couple of times where a better player with a bit more, it was a bit more forward thinking, would have probably taken a touch and scored at least one of them. I don't know what sort of player he is, but I'm not convinced he's an attacking player. I think he needs to be sitting defensively, and when he did, he was much better. And the attacking unit, again, it's a little bit of a common theme from last season, I suppose. I mean, Jackson, why on earth, how did he not look along the line and stay on side for that? That's criminal, that really is. That's just him in a nutshell. But he brings so much, doesn't he? He does. He's a great player, well, maybe not great, but a really fine player waiting to come out who can cause real havoc. But he's one of those who's not the sharpest tool in the shed in terms of his football brain, and he just needs to learn that as best he can. Encouraged by Neto, who's got obvious sort of flair and pace and direct running and good awareness, and I really also like the way he made the box at far post second half. Soon after coming on, he just sort of bust the guts, get in the middle, and Mudryk never does that thing. He just needs a rocket up his bum, Mudryk. You've got to have an instinct to get into the box to make when the plays are progressing down the other side. Just finally, you think of our shape and tactics, really. There were certainly good sides today. It didn't look so individual. I think he'll soon settle and realise when he needs to play more creative midfielders, and I think that's going to be key. So, yeah, signs are good. Encouraged by that, definitely. Shame you start off with a defeat, puts more pressure on, but Europe should give us a reasonable win, and then how we back this performance up is going to be absolutely key. So let's hope, let's stay optimistic.
I know you're flying out today, mate, so I'm not sure if you've seen the news, but Gallagher has pretty much gone. I think he's been given permission to fly back to Atletico, and Felix is coming the other way. That's kind of been confirmed. Looks like we're getting Felix for around 36 million, which is obviously a lot less than they wanted, and it's basically another like-for-like deal. I mean, personally, I think it's a transfer of convenience, although I do think Felix can offer us some form of, obviously, positive performances. But like we said earlier on, it does feel a bit like the deal had to be done purely to aid Gallagher to go. But let's be honest, Felix is a fantastic player. You know, whether you think he's a goal scorer or not is kind of irrelevant. He's an excellent football player. He is a magician at linking the play up. Obviously, he will effectively push some other players out of the team. It may well be Carney, it may well be Sterling, but I'm more for having good football players at the club, and the fact is Connor was going regardless of what happened. So at the end of the day, you need to kind of take what you can, and if Atletico were willing to do this deal with us, it feels like a good signing. You know, Felix is a very, very good player, and he's been at the club before. He should settle pretty quickly. He knows the surroundings, the training ground. He knows London, the Stamford Bridge. He knows all about what's going on. So this kind of feels like it's a bit of a win-win. People don't want to sell Gallagher. You know, I completely understand that. But if you knew you were getting a fantastic player in return, I don't think anyone would be too disappointed with that. So overall, I think we can all be fairly happy.
Yeah, João Félix, saw the news on the plane, and it's a marriage of convenience, isn't it? I think I've gone on a bit of a journey with it. The first reaction, to be honest, was like, where does he fit? Do we need him, etc. But actually, it's really warmed on me. I looked back at what he did at Chelsea in his first spell, watched a bit of that back, and you know, it was in such a awful team, wasn't it? It was almost impossible 6 months for anyone to do well. No one did. And he did all right. You know, he had little moments. As you said, he's clearly quality. And then I watched back a little bit more detail about what he did at Barcelona last year and what their fans thought of him. And actually, he was really good. And I think you look at him, he's only 24, which is mind-blowing, isn't it? And there's clearly a really, really good footballer there. It's just what club can get it out of him. And I think one club will eventually, and Chelsea could be a good place for him. And to be honest, the fee for a player of his ability is really good. And it's almost a bit of a no-brainer, because I don't think you're ever going to lose money on him at that price. I think they're sort of saying it's about 36 million or similar to basically pretty much a like for Gallagher. So, yeah, I'm kind of, you can't not be excited when you get a player like that. I think he's a really good creative player. He's quick. He's incredibly skillful. So, yeah, I like it. I'm kind of not against it, like you say. I think the big question is where he fits alongside the other options. And obviously Sterling, almost certainly they'll be looking for a way out for him, more likely a loan, I would have thought, than anything else. But I still feel like maybe there might be one too many, even with Sterling gone. And I just think Madueke might be the one to keep an eye on late in the window. I don't want him to go. I still think Madueke and Mudryk, one of them might have to make way as well. Maybe not with all the games we're going to play, but there's a lot of players there.
How do you see the game on Thursday going? I think I'd probably quite like to see one or two new faces, maybe Vega, maybe Jorgensen in goal. But do you think we'll change many, or do you think you'll try and keep a more rigid team to try and get some confidence, goals, and generally kind of cohesion within the squad? What do you think, mate?
I think I'd expect maybe a kind of 5 or 6 changes. That's what my gut feeling is. I don't think wholesale, because I think he needs a win. I know it sounds obvious, but we have to win that game. We probably have to win it. Like, not crazy, but you want a 2 or 3-0 win, don't you? Let's be honest. So I think 5 or 6 changes. That Jorgensen very likely to come in, I would have thought. I think a couple of changes at the back. I wonder if Rhys James is fit yet. Probably not. He was back on the grass, wasn't he? But you'd imagine Gusto carries on. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Tosin come in for Fofana, just because you've got to be careful with Fofana. And as you said, I think Vey coming at left back would kind of feel obvious. I'd like to see in that midfield him go for 2 out of the 3 in the centre mid. I think we've talked a lot about Enzo. Don't need to. I'm actually happy for Enzo to start. I think he's a brilliant player, but I don't think we want him in that more attacking role. So any 2 of the 3 of those 3 starting, which means you can then free up another attacking spot. So there's been a lot of chat online about putting Palmer a little bit more inside, which is what we saw at the end of last season. And we think there's a great shout for that. Likewise in Kunku, to be fair. So either of those guys being a bit more central, and then you put another winger in, maybe you give Pedro Neto a start, which I think would be great. And does he either put Nkunku up front to better put another winger in maybe and give Jackson a rest, something like that. So I think 4, 5, 6 changes, and yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it, to us, just purely because you just want to see Chelsea win games, don't you? And the Conference League could be a bit of a blessing in that respect. I kind of said it a little bit to you about pre-season, that a lot of the narrative that around the club at the moment, I think, is based on us having a pretty bad pre-season, really. But if we played like, a lesser level of teams than Man City and Real Madrid and Inter, if we'd been playing like, Real Betis, Marseille and Werder Bremen, for example, and we'd won 3 games, won those 3, and we ended up winning for like 4 out of 6 pre-season games, the whole narrative is so different. It's weird how football, I think, nowadays is. It's kind of, no one really looks at who you're playing as much as just how many games you're winning. And I think that Chelsea have got, with the Conference League, a good chance just to beat some teams, whoever they are, and just get some confidence up and get players winning games, scoring goals. And I think actually that's quite important, especially at the moment. So yeah, actually looking forward to hopefully a good game, a good win, score a few goals, and get some good feeling again back at the club ahead of obviously a more important game against Wolves on Sunday. So yeah, let's see. Those were the Chelsea notes for this week. If you enjoyed the podcast, do us a favour and share it with a fellow Blue. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave us a review wherever you're listening. Wherever you may be, stay carefree, and remember, every little thing's gonna be alright.